to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Procedures for teleconference meeting attendance under SB 707.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. This meeting is being conducted as a virtual and in-person meeting, so we'll do roll call of the trustees to confirm attendance. Ms. Ginsburg?
Here.
Mr. Razo?
Present.
Ms. Langton?
Here.
Mr. Rue? I see you, Ms. Fessler?
Here.
Mr. Pantoja?
Here.
Mr. Green? Mr. Kehoe? I see you, Mr. Robbins, Mr. Harris?
Here.
And Mr. Moore.
Aye.
And we may proceed with the agenda.
Thank you. That brings us to for approval of minutes. I need a motion and a second for approval of minutes from the January 7th, 2026 meeting. Second.
Okay. Ms. Ginsburg?
Yes.
Mr. Razo?
Aye.
Ms. Langton?
Aye.
Ms. Fessler?
Aye.
Mr. Kehoe?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja?
Yes.
And Mr. Robbins? Passes unanimously.
Thank you. We're now at public comment. I do see we have a request for comment from Ricky D. Payne. It's for an item on consent calendar 2076D. Mr. Payne.
They're not here?
No,
He's
not going to come. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very
you.
much. Brings us to executive update.
Good morning, trustees. First up is our LACERA All-Stars. Each month we take a moment to recognize LACERA staff who have been nominated by their fellow staff members for going above and beyond the call of duty to help members and each other. And so this month we recognize the folks that you see on your screen there, which is Janet Chan, Christian Ibarra, Serenette Davis, and Gloria Rios. And then our web watcher was Kevin Hopkins. Thank you very much, everybody, for all that you do for us. Appreciate it.
Brings us to member spotlight.
Thank you very much. So the member spotlight is a way for LACERA to recognize the public servants that care for the constituents of Los Angeles County. It's also an opportunity for all of us to reflect on what we do and why we do, which is serve our members and empower them to enjoy a healthy and secure retirement. So this month, we are recognizing Deputy Cesar Huerta. He is a deputy sheriff with 25 years of service, and he is set to retire. His proudest accomplishments is having trained 13 trainees, including 3 who went on to become sergeants. And that's a tremendous responsibility because you got to start them out right and get them going and make sure that they're safe and keep all of us safe. And so we appreciate Mr. Huerta for everything that he's done for the county and for the constituents of Los Angeles County. He plans to travel and do some home improvement projects, spend time with his dog, and work on a car. And I'm just curious what type of car that was. One of those classics. So thank you very much, Deputy Huerta, for your
Absolutely. And now I guess we're ready for the Chief Executive Officer's report from our new Chief Executive Officer.
Okay, thank you. Good morning again, Chair Harris. Good morning, trustees. Just a few highlights from the CEO report. One, today is Richard Bendill's last BOR meeting. We will formally recognize Richard at the Audit ACO Committee meeting on the 23rd. But again, I'm sure you're not going to miss too many of those meetings, Richard. And then in terms of the recruitment for the Chief Audit Executive, we are making progress. We have interviews scheduled for Friday. Again, making progress on that recruitment. Also, as it relates to the Assistant Executive Officer recruitment, Laura Guglielmo, her last meeting will be next month. The next BOR meeting in March. We are progressing with that recruitment as well. We have a full slate of interviews tomorrow scheduled. So again, when we're progressing through both those critical recruitments. Update on culture and leadership. I wanted to provide the board an update in terms of our progress on the culture survey, engagement survey that was sent out to our team members back in August. We have put together the results of the survey. We've communicated that to the team. We had a management offsite in December, and now we're working on, some key initiatives related around improving culture at LACERA. We will be providing the results of the survey next month. We did provide it to the ACO committee and did a walkthrough in terms of the results of that survey, but myself and Mr. Graber will be looking at a presentation in March. We'll try to get it by March in terms of some of the initiatives that we have underway as it relates to improving overall culture at LACERA. Also wanted to update the board on the fiduciary council interviews. We went through, and again, appreciate the trustees participating in those interviews. Frank Boyd did a great job in just coordinating and getting us organized around the fiduciary council interviews, and we're making basically towards the tail end, and I'm sure Mr. Boyd will provide the JOGC an update in March, and we'll look to have that come to the boards in April. And then lastly, this was highlighted in the IBL meeting in terms of the Kaiser strike. So there is a second strike that's going to be underway. We talked about a little bit in the IBL. It is going to impact some members. We have our account manager that has sent out specific communications on behalf of Kaiser to those impacted members. And we'll make sure, Cassandra and I will make sure that, again, we send an email blast to our membership as well in terms of any impacts to pharmacy or any other services. And with that, Chair Harris, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
I do have a question. Sorry to put you on the spot, but what are we doing to try and bring down the case processing time for disability cases? It's at 16 months right now, which I'm hearing from members not very happy about. So if you can give us an update on what we're doing and what our plans are.
Yeah, Trustee Kehoe, we had a presentation that came to the board last month. There's a action plan underway with Tamara and her and the disability retirement team to work through specific initiatives, some of which was communicated to the board, some expedited claims, and then also looking at some process improvements around some of their investigation work. But I'm more than happy to call on also Tamara to kind of outline some of those details. We will be coming back on a regular cadence to the board in terms of the initiative that she highlighted last month, but also just in terms of the overall processing time and kind of where that is, and showing kind of a track on directionally making sure that we reduce that time frame. So Tamara, I don't know if you're able to provide just some brief highlights there.
Good morning, trustees. There's been a couple of things that we've done in the interim. One of our challenges that we were facing was that we knew there was going to be an increase in applications coming in, and we asked for additional staffing, and we weren't able to get that staffing quite as quickly as we would have hoped. We have now since hired 4 new bodies in addition to 3 promotions. So we have about 7 additional disability retirement specialists added to our team who they started in September. They were trained in a month and they started processing cases within a month of their training. In fact, on this agenda, you actually will see cases from those new staff members. So that in and of itself, I expect that that's going to help us bring some of the cases down, and you'll see diminish in that case processing time. But we're also taking additional steps. So this group of people that we trained, we're actually assigning aging cases to them. So some of these older cases, we've really taken a concerted effort to try to get these aging cases out the door. That also might be what you're seeing that's driving up that processing time a bit, because these are the older cases. We're also looking at streamlining our process a bit, especially focusing on fire and safety cases. Those cases where there is very strong evidence, we're looking at what can we pare down our investigative process a bit, because there is a large volume of medical evidence supporting disability. So we're looking at how we can streamline that so we can get the cases to you faster. That's the goal. We're also looking at a pilot program that might even let us streamline our existing priority system down a bit, where these exact cases that we're talking about, the question is, if we have substantial medical evidence that exists from the workers' comp claim, can we forego an independent medical evaluation? That, of course, would be with the support and review of the legal staff to confirm that there's medical evidence that would support our ability to just come to you and make a recommendation concerning permanency and causation. So in the next couple of months, you will be seeing information on that pilot program, information on how we are going to pare down our disability evaluation report and really just stick to the facts and not like these long drawn out kind of narrative approach where we can just really focus on what the case is, the information you need to make a decision, and we can get these cases out the door quicker. That's the goal. So I will be bringing that information back to you. I also want, as Louis mentioned, coming to the board and actually having a dialogue more frequently. We hadn't seen the board in over 5 years, I think it was. So just really kind of coming to you and giving you more information about our caseload, the inventory, some of the DNA of our applicants, because it's very different than what we have been seeing in the past. So some of the cases that used to be easier and straightforward, they're a little bit more complex. So coming and having that discussion with the board is our goal over the next few months. We're also going to bring in some other educational series. Our doctors are going to come in and speak to you all, as well as DHR. So again, trying to resurrect that dialogue that we used to have with the board when we used to have a committee. I think we've kind of gotten away from that. And I think it's very important that we start again, because I think you guys are kind of riding blind and seeing the 16-month number. And again, it's concerning. So we too are committed to bringing that number down, and we're going to make every effort to do that.
Great, thank you very much. That's very, very informative and detailed, and I'm very impressed that you did that all on the cuff there. We did not pre-plan this, so I appreciate that. And yes, when we eliminated the committee, the goal was to bring it into the boardroom, right? So we should absolutely carve out time in the boardroom with the main board meeting to do these updates. So thank you for identifying that.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much. That brings us to 7 disability retirement applications on consent calendar. Let you get your notes together and/or agenda. Need a motion and a second to adopt the recommendations. Items 826E through 843E.
I'll move them.
Okay, Ms. Ginsburg.
Yes.
Mr. Razzo.
Aye.
Ms. Langton.
Aye.
Ms. Fessler.
Aye.
Mr. Kehoe.
Aye.
Mr. Moore.
Aye.
Mr. Ruth.
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja.
Aye.
And Mr. Robbins. Passes unanimously.
And now need a motion and a second on items 1041C through 1050C.
So moved.
Okay, Ms. Ginsburg.
Yes.
Mr. Razzo.
Aye.
Ms. Langton.
Aye.
Ms. Fessler.
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Aye.
Mr. Moore.
Aye.
Mr. Ruth.
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja.
Yes.
And Mr. Robbins. Passes unanimously.
And finally, need a motion and a second on cases 2074D through 2094D.
I'll move. Second.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ginsburg. Mr. Razzo.
Aye.
Ms. Langton.
Aye.
Ms. Fessler.
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe.
Aye.
Mr. Moore.
Aye.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja.
Yes.
And Mr. Robbins. Passes unanimously.
Down to item 8, consent items. I need a motion and a second on consent items A through G.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Ginsburg.
Yes.
Mr. Razzo.
Aye.
Ms. Langton.
Aye.
Ms. Fessler.
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe.
Aye.
Mr. Moore.
Aye.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja.
Yes.
And Mr. Robbins. Passes unanimously.
That brings us down to item 9, excluded from consent items. I need a motion and a second on non-consent item A, cost of living adjustment effective April 1, 2026. That's refer to your memo dated January 21, 2026. I see Mr. Granger is here to answer any questions you might have concerning that item.
I'll move the item.
Any questions you have, Mr. Granger? I hope you enjoyed the walk.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Ginsburg.
Yes.
Mr. Razzo.
Aye.
Ms. Langton.
Aye.
Ms. Fessler.
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe.
Aye.
Mr. Moore.
Aye.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja.
Yes.
And Mr. Robbins.
I just want to confirm, nobody from, no, especially newer trustees don't need a briefing on what this is. Are we good?
Mr. Granger has trained us well. already.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I hope everyone realizes it's not because we don't read these things, it's because these things are well written, we understand them. But if, we have questions, we obviously will entertain them, but thank you for good staff work and, actually, I hope you enjoyed the walk.
Great, thank you. Yes.
Okay, that brings us to item B, disability case review, CPI increase in compensation effective April 1, 2026. Refer to your memo dated January 23rd, 2026.
As someone who does not get that, I will make the motion on
All right.
behalf of those who do.
Second, anyone? Okay. Okay, Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Mr. Razzo,
Aye.
Ms. Langton.
Aye.
Ms. Fessler.
Aye.
Mr. Kehoe.
Aye.
Mr. Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja.
Yes.
And Mr. Roberts.
Aye.
Passed unanimously.
Great, thank you. That brings us to item C, LACERA 2026 election of second, eighth, and alternate retired trustees, approval of statement of powers and duties of board of retirement trustees, refer to memo dated January 28th, 2026. Are there any questions for Mr. Rice?
I'll make a motion.
Need a
I'll
motion,
sec-
second, yeah.
Second it.
Ms. Ginsburg.
Yes.
Mr. Razzo.
Aye.
Ms. Langton.
Aye.
Ms. Fessler.
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe.
Aye.
Mr. Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja,
Yes.
and Mr. Roberts. Passes unanimously.
Thank you. Brings us to item D, Assembly Bill 1383, Public Employees Retirement Benefits. Need a motion and a second. This is reference the memo from January 26, 2026. Do you have a motion and a second?
I'll move it.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Ginsburg.
Yes.
Mr. Razzo.
Aye.
Ms. Langton. Ms. Fessler.
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe.
No.
Mr. Moore.
Aye.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja,
Yes.
and Mr. Roberts. Okay, it passes with one no.
And that brings us finally to,
So for this item,
I'm sorry.
these two are connected to each other.
Yes.
So they would like to do the presentation first and then the approval.
that's fine.
If you guys
That sounds
would like
good.
that.
All right, let's do that. I even noted that. I said, these things are obviously connected, so.
The procurement contract management.
Yeah. Do your presentation now. Thank you.
So quickly, we're on the I told them like 10:15. Lunch is not here till 10:30. So.
I don't feel that a meeting has to fill the time.
Seen. Okay. We're ready?
Okay,
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chair Harris. Good morning, trustees. My name is Ricky Contreras. I am the Administrative Services Division Manager. And with me today is Elsie Gutierrez, who's our supervisor over vendor management, and Christine Roslin, who's Senior Staff Counsel in our legal team, currently supporting contracts. Today, we're going to stand for questions after the presentation, if that is okay with the board, just so that we can get through our presentation as quickly as possible.
Good luck.
Make time and make time for our discussion on our policy. Really, I'm sure there'll be some questions on that as well. So today's presentation is intended to walk the board through the evolution of LACERA's vendor management and contract management lifecycle. The focus is not just on what we do, but how governance, risk management, and accountability have been strengthened over time. We will explain where the organization was historically, what is now established, and what is currently being built. How best practices supported by cross-functional partnership and legal oversight are being embedded across the full life cycle. This is about transparency, fiduciary responsibility, and sustainable operations. Next slide, please. At a high level, this evolution reflects a shift from decentralized and transactional practices to a disciplined end-to-end life cycle approach. Vendor management and contract management are no longer treated as separated or isolated activities. Instead, they are aligned within a single governance framework that supports consistent decision-making, risk mitigation, and performance oversight. This framing, where we were, where we are, and where we are going, helps demonstrate progress while clearly acknowledging what is still being implemented. Historically, vendor and contract management at LACERA developed incrementally across departments. While services were delivered, practices varied widely. Governance structures and approval pathways were inconsistent, and there was limited visibility into contract obligations, renewals, or performance once agreements were executed. As a result, fiduciary compliance and audit risks were elevated, not due to intent, but due to a lack of standardized controls. From an operating standpoint, contracts were often treated as a point-in-time transaction rather than lifecycle instruments. Vendor relationships were managed informally, cross-functional coordination was limited, and legal involvement frequently occurred late in the process, after business decisions have already been made. This increased the likelihood of rework, delays, and unmanaged risk downstream. Beginning in September 2024, LACERA took a deliberate step towards centralization by defining a vendor and contract management governance framework and formally adopting a 5-stage contract management lifecycle. Stage 1, pre-procurement and planning, is now fully implemented and serves as the foundation of the lifecycle. The request to contract or requisition functions as a governance gate that ensures business need, budget, scope, and risk are understood before solicitation begins. So stage 1 is where many of the most significant governance improvements have occurred because it forces clarity up front. What are we procuring? Why are we doing it? How much will it cost us? And what are the risks that exist before anything is solicited? This stage is also where cross-functional partnership is now the strongest. The project management office supports early scope and timeline alignment. Where technology is involved, the IT Coordination Council is engaged to ensure technology decisions align with strategy, security, and acceptable risks before commitments are locked into contracts. Information security is brought in early to validate data protection and security requirements before they're embedded into solicitations or agreements. And legal gains early awareness of contract structure and risk. Together, this coordination prevents downstream issues, reducing rework, late changes, and avoidable amendments, rather than reacting to problems after decisions have already been made. While the life cycle has been fully defined, stages 2 through 5 are currently being developed and implemented. This is intentional. Rather than attempting to operationalize all stages at once, LACERA is progressing in a phased, disciplined manner to ensure sustainability, consistency, and adoption. Transparency about this maturity status is important, particularly from a governance and fiduciary perspective. This slide is intended to be a transparent maturity checkpoint. While stage 1 is established, we are actively closing key gaps that impact consistency, compliance, and scale. Integration work across Cobblestone, our contract and vendor management software, LawView, our legal matter management software, and Certify AP, our automated accounts payable tool, remains a major dependency for creating a unified vendor management ecosystem. And business owner adoption continues to require structured change management. Training is a critical lever, but cannot fully launch until policies, processes, and requirements are finalized. Next slide, please. Yes. Looking forward, we are focused on closing the automation gap by strengthening technology enablement, streamlining workflows, improving reporting and lifecycle visibility, and ensuring tools support consistent governance. We also need clarity on Cobblestone's long-term role. If it's not the end state, we will define an approach to address continuity and transition risks. And as part of modernizing the end-to-end ecosystem, we will also incorporate evaluation of enterprise resource planning capabilities as appropriate for our future state. Next slide, please. Stage 2 focuses on how vendors are selected. Standardized solicitation documents, evaluation criteria, and scoring approaches are being implemented to ensure transparency and defensibility. Risk considerations are incorporated into vendor selection, and cross-functional input is used where appropriate. This stage ensures that vendor decisions are consistent, well documented, and aligned with organizational priorities. Stage 3 is where vendor selection moves into contract formation. Contract development and execution move away from ad hoc drafting towards standardized templates and playbooks. Legal review is applied based on risk and complexity rather than uniformly across all contracts. And approval authority and execution standards are clearly defined, ensuring contracts are enforceable, compliant, and properly authorized. Stage 4 represents a key shift in mindset from execution to active management. Contracts are monitored for performance, amendments are controlled, and escalation pathways are clearly defined. Cross-functional oversight is engaged as needed to address emerging risks and ensure vendors deliver as expected. Stage 5 is our formal closeout, which completes the life cycle. Deliverables are accepted, performance is evaluated, and lessons learned are documented. This step strengthens audit readiness and ensures that experience informs future vendor and contract decisions. Closeout is no longer optional, it is a governance requirement. Legal support across stages. Legal is embedded now as a governance partner across the full contract lifecycle, setting standards, scaling review based on risk, aligning early with vendor management, IT coordination council, and information security, supporting amendments and disputes, and building staff capability through training. So risk is managed proactively rather than corrected late. And the next slide is examples of our legal team support, which Christine will obviously be here to stand for questions. Legal engagement begins early in stage 1 with the request to contract. This allows legal to spot structural and risk issues up front before solicitation or negotiations begin, reducing downstream rework. In stage 2, legal supports the solicitation process. RFPs and other solicitations are reviewed based on risk and complexity to ensure clear scope, defensible terms, and an alignment with legal, intellectual property, and data security requirements. During stage 3, legal applies a risk-based review model. Standardized tools and playbooks are used to scale review appropriately. Throughout the process, legal partners cross-functionally with vendor management, IT, and information security to ensure contract terms match technical and security needs. And finally, legal provides downstream support for amendments, escalations, and compliance as risk or performance conditions change. Next slide, please. So across all stages, the life cycle reflects recognized best practices, clear roles and accountability, standardization, risk-based oversight, life cycle visibility, and cross-functional partnership as a design principle. These practices are critical in public sector, fiduciary environments, and provide a defensible foundation for governance and audit purposes. As stages 2 through 5 continue to be implemented, LACERA is moving toward life cycle maturity. The focus is on institutionalizing practices, expanding reports and metrics, strengthening audit readiness, and continuously improving processes over time. This is not a one-time change. It is an ongoing governance commitment. The key takeaway for leadership is that LACERA has made a deliberate and measurable shift from fragmented practices to a disciplined, best practice lifecycle model. Governance and risk are addressed earlier, cross-functional partnership is foundational, and legal plays a strategic, risk-focused role. This evolution strengthens fiduciary oversight, transparency, and long-term outcomes for the organization. And our team is here to stand for questions.
Thank you very, very much. Any questions?
I have a lot of questions about the other document. I don't know, are we separating the two
Yeah, I don't know, how
two
do we,
items? How do you want to
it
handle
seems
this?
like, I mean, these are
Yeah.
joined at the hip. I don't
Right.
see any reason to separate. So since there doesn't seem to be any questions about the presentation, why don't we go back to E? And I need a motion and a second to
I-
adopt, and then we can go into all the questions Bobby has.
I do. So the contract, is there a program that's been created to, I know this is more of like a policy development, right? This is the steps and that we need to take for contracts. So number one, does it apply to all procurements? And number two, is there some sort of system, electronic system in place to be able to do all of this, flag any issues or discrepancies, et cetera?
Yes, so this does apply to all procurements to varying degrees, depending on whether it's a good or service, like within the thresholds, right? But especially if this is a contract, the contracts are all going through this model. Again, we're not at total maturity and full operational actualization, right? But this is where we're headed. And one of our current challenges and gaps is integrating legal matter management software, which is LawView, which is a software that legal team uses, and Cobblestone, which is our vendor management team software, which has its entire life cycle embedded in that tool. However, when Cobblestone was being developed and implemented, it was initially customized for the purpose of having a decentralized contract management workflow. And when we pivoted in September of 2024 to a centralized model, we had to rework workflows and decide on integration points with LawView. And this is an active, ongoing process right now. We are in the process of working with the team from our systems division, the PMO, as well as our legal partners and our vendor management team to decide where that integration is going to occur, what are the most efficient workflows, why we might want to develop a contract in one system and then hand it to another system, depending on who needs access to that. So to give you an example, Cobblestone has a contract module that allows for the development of the contract and execution within Cobblestone. However, so does LawView to a certain degree, that it has certain functionality that can be leveraged in the same way. However, who has access to those systems, right? Cobblestone, the entire organization can have access to those systems. LawView, not everyone. So we have a lot of discussion that is going on right now. This is an evolution in our process. And that's why I want to be very transparent, like what our ideal state is versus where we are today, the challenges that we're facing today, the active engagement that's going on cross-functionally across teams. And then I'd like to use this analogy, which I stole from Elsie, which is that, we're changing tires on a moving vehicle. Every day we have to buy things. Every day we have to make decisions and evaluate risk and engage in business. Every day the team has demands that are being placed on them. And as we're building the model, they're doing that and trying to strive for excellence and continuous improvement and actualization and operationalization of this model. Like, it's not anything that's simple, but actively being engaged and worked on.
So, and the purpose of this presentation is just kind of give us an update of where we are, not to get necessarily feedback from the board on it, and then to set the stage for the action item that we're about ready to discuss.
Correct.
Okay, thank
And
you.
if I just may add, investment transactions are not included in this procurement policy. They have their own procurement policy. Just wanted to clarify.
Okay, you mean contract related, right? So, I
Yes.
mean, if investments is buying calculators, then they go through this process, right?
Right, right.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Fessler.
Well, I mean, I don't know when we're ready to move forward, but I mean,
Let me pull
all
that
of that
back.
sounds great to me, and I can fully appreciate the complexities of you're trying to bring a whole bunch of families together, and they don't necessarily even speak the same language, let alone have the same culture and background, and that is a challenge, whether it's on your personal level or in a business environment. So I get that part of
So
it.
let me pull this back then. So at this point, we're going to revert back to non-consent item E, revised policy for the procurement of goods and services. I need a motion and a second. And then we'll go to Trustee Fessler's questions on that motion, should we get a motion and a second.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks very much. Then I finally learned how to make notes and things on my little
good.
Board Vantage versions here. So you bear with me because I scribbled a bunch of stuff down. When we get to the first item on your memo, your the policy itself or the board letter, is the conversation or the discussion of moving the dollar level that comes to the board from 100,000 to 250,000. Is that, do I understand what you're proposing here?
That is correct. My understanding was the board at the last meeting in November requested the evaluation of consideration of moving the authority from 100,000 to 250,000.
Right. And as I was having trouble recollecting the discussion from November, but as I understand it, contracts below whatever the dollar level is would not come to the board at all. Is that right?
Well, currently, the only thing that comes to the board is anything over $500,000. The CEO's purchasing authority is $500,000. The question that you have before you today is what type of bid would we require to go through? What type of solicitation will we use? So for example, if I want to purchase something that's $100,000 today, I will have to go through a formal bidding process. And that requires like an RFP potentially, right?
Right.
And that would generally come to the board, depending on what that process looks like. It's not a requirement to come to the board, but it's likely to come to board because of the significant dollar amount.
Come to the board at what point?
During the development of the RFP.
It's actually when the contract's going to be awarded, and it's only if it falls under their authority.
Okay, I'll let Elsie.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning. So currently, the contract will only come to the board if it's within your approval authority, which would be 500,000 and above. Anything that's under 500,000 can be approved by our CEO, and it would not necessarily come to you. Now, if during the RFP process, we start getting bids and the bids exceed that 500,000 threshold or that was not anticipated, at that point, it would come to the board for approval. Now, if it's within your authority, normally what I've seen in the past, and again, we need to finalize this, you will get the presentation on the upcoming RFP. You will approve that. The RFP will be, and with that approval, you're allowing the business owner to actually release the RFP. Once they get to the point where they're going to award the contract, they will come back to the board and basically make the recommendation to award the contract to the vendor.
Okay, then what is this 100,000, 250,000? How does that issue that is part of this memo fit into what you just described?
Okay, so one of the challenges that we have is that our team is actually fairly small. So doing a formal bid takes a lot of our resources. And one of the requirements of a formal bid is that we have to develop the solicitation document and evaluation criteria, which let's just say might take a couple of months. In addition to that, we have to publish the RFP, right, which takes an additional 30 days. And by the time everything is said and done, the formal process could take a couple of months. And right now, the way it is set up, that applies to computers, where I might be purchasing computers that are easily, we can easily go out there and get 3 bids from members without necessarily doing the formal process. So what we're trying to do is kind of streamline the process by allowing us to do routine purchases or purchases that would be more appropriately competitively bid by just requesting written quotations from the vendors versus doing a whole formal process. I don't know if that.
Well, yeah, I do understand that concept. I'm just struggling here because the way this, I interpreted this very differently.
Okay.
So maybe that's on, definitely that's on me, but what you're trying to distinguish then is, and I'm going to use my old language, okay? We used to have what we called IFBs, information or information for bids or something like that. And you go out and you say, I want 10 of this kind of widget. I want 10 pair of shoes that are brown and are penny loafers, and give me your price, right? It's a hard description. You can say exactly what you want. And that's a very straightforward, simple kind of process. Then you can also go out with what we used to call an RFP, a request for proposal. And you say, I want somebody to design shoes that are going to be of interest to old college yuppies. And they then come back with a proposal for penny loafers, for saddle shoes, for whatever. That's a much more complicated process at both ends, right? And you've got all the evaluation and you have to apply criteria and you set up a team and all that stuff. Are you talking here with this 100 versus 250 about I want 10 penny loafers that are brown?
10 penny loafers, or it could be simple services. Something that
like janitorial services or whatever.
General services.
But something where it exists in the world of vendors, and you just need to describe specifically enough what you want with the parameters of how many you need and what hours of whatever it might be, right? And so for those kinds of acquisitions, you want to be able to do like an IFB versus an RFP.
Correct.
If it's 100,000 versus 250,000.
Initially, we had requested 100,000, but
Right.
the proposal was made to evaluate whether 250,000 was more appropriate.
Right.
And our recommendation is that it is, because within that 250,000, there's a lot of IT goods and services
Right.
that can be purchased using request for
The IFB
I
model.
think
IFB model,
right.
that would be more
I
appropriate.
mean, where you
than-
have specificity and
Correct.
I mean, you know what you want. It's like going on Amazon and I want 7 of these. Okay, got it.
Correct.
All right, that's not at all what I understood this to be. So that eliminates a lot of my questions. I mean, if what you're going out to find is something that is that straightforward, it shouldn't require as much staff time as a more complicated thing. But I'm not sure in here, and I'll go back and I'll look at this again. I'm not sure that it's clear that that's the distinction being made. It looked to me more like it was strictly based on dollar amount and not based on the nature of the
Of the purchase.
agreement that, you know, the kinds of things you were trying to acquire and the nature of that agreement.
So just for clarification, within the policy, we do give examples of when it is appropriate to use an informal three bid model versus a formal RFP. In addition to that, it doesn't mean that we necessarily will do an informal bid if the services are maybe not as easily evaluated or a little bit complicated where we need specific subject matter experts. We will definitely do a formal process. This just gives us the flexibility to do daily business using the three bid process without having to spend a lot of
Yeah,
staff time.
And I mean, I that makes a lot of sense. Like I said, it wasn't, from my reading of this, and maybe I'm the only one, but it wasn't clear to me that we were talking about substance as opposed to dollar level. And that's what threw me off. So with that, let me move on then, if that's okay. When we get into the actual policy itself, I found much of the terminology to be confusing or in a way that, and again, you know, we're living in two worlds, right? I came from a world where terminology, the same terms were used differently. So as long as you guys internally understand it, I guess that's the appropriate thing, but I'll give you an example. Business owner is the unit within LACERA that wants the stuff, right? Or wants
Correct.
the service. Okay. Business owner in just general vernacular common English is somebody who owns a business, and they would be outside of LACERA, not within. And I don't know who else uses this, but to me, that using that term to mean what it's proposed to mean can only generate confusion. There should be a better term within our organization that doesn't use words that are commonly understood in a very general way to mean something as specific as this. And I don't really mean to nitpick, but that was like the most prevalent example to me of places where there are other parts of this. And if I could figure out how to forward it to you, I would, but I figured out how to highlight it and bring it up on my screen. I haven't yet figured out how to send it to anybody else, but I'm happy to share these details with you, but that was like the concern I had. And so when we get to request for, shoot, it's gotten it darker here. Right past request for proposal is request for something else. And I don't know what it's supposed to, quotation. Okay. A request, oh yeah, request for quotation. Is that what you would use that I was referring to, like an IFB?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a request for a bid, basically, right? And we've got I think we have the word bid up here, a vendor price quotation and description of goods. If that's what you're calling a bid, then why down below do you call it a quotation instead of a bid? I mean, I'm not trying to micromanage, although I'm sure it sounds like that, but when there are two terms that mean the same thing, it can only lend itself to being to throwing people off. And when this document, you're using it internally, but the entire organization is also going to be using it, because your business owners are throughout the whole organization. And to me, that suggests that it should be as simple and straightforward as it can be. And with that, I'd urge you guys to go back through and look at some of these to see if you want to streamline things. And in some ways, these terms make it more complicated than streamlined. But let me see if I can get down into under purchasing and contracting policy, number Roman 5. Let me see what this says here. does this mean the board has to approve? Okay, so when we get into B, request for procurement of goods and or contracting services requisition, the second paragraph says requisitions that require board approval must be authorized by direct board action. That's what you were talking about, the over 500,000.
Correct.
And you come to the board with the RFP as well as coming back when the contract is negotiated and for board approval of the contract.
Correct.
Okay. And is that because of board policy? Has the board adopted a policy that has you come to us with the RFP before you even go out for the bids?
That has been the past practice.
And okay, and can you enlighten me as the reason for that practice? Why we have to tell you in advance? Yes, I mean, I guess it's good for you to know in case we blow everything up at the back end, but how likely is that? I mean, have you had experiences where the board has said, no, don't go out to bid on that?
Number one, I do believe it's for transparency purposes and to ensure the board is engaged early on with large dollar amounts. And has there been previous experience with that? I would say yes. I was not the one that had to sit on the hot seat, but I was in the audience and observed those type of interactions where there was, why was this not brought to us earlier? We didn't know this was going to be a potential purchase, or that we wanted to even go down this path, right? Because the procurement was going to maybe affect operations differently or.
Okay, so it's almost like a policy issue. When you've got something at that dollar level, it suggests that you're doing something pretty major within the organization, and that major action is something that you want the board to weigh in on before you spend a lot of time and effort. Okay, got
Absolutely.
it. All right. And then now under that, requisitions for purchase orders, the procurement unit responsible, blah, 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 requires a purchase order. We're talking about the $500,000 level here again?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
So when you're reading the policy, basically what we're trying to do is provide the end users or business owners a guideline on what the procurement process should be, where they need to get the approval or who they need to get the approvals from. So when we're talking about a PO, it just basically means it's a purchase that does not require a contract. It'll be simple goods. That's a simple purchase order requisition. And those go through a different program than our cobblestone contract management system.
Okay, I guess this is another terminology thing. In my world, a purchase order was a document that was issued against an existing contract. You have a contract in place, and then people can, everybody needs computer paper, or everybody needs printer ink, or whatever it might be, a kind of a standard organizational wide item. And so there is a master contract in place, and then the different units that have authority to do it, the different business owners can issue purchase orders against those existing contracts. What I hear is you guys consider a purchase order itself to be a contract. And I think that's something that in the general world of understanding what a purchase order is confusing. And let me step back, and this goes into, the real weeds of the legal world, but any kind of interaction and arrangement, especially with respect to a public entity, is in fact a contract. So whether it's a purchase order, whatever label you put on it, it's a contract in and of itself. But I would think that what you're talking about here is if it's a standardized thing, you use your standard contract form. And then as you order things off of that, the order that goes through is the purchase order. You're placing an order to purchase things off of an existing contract.
So for clarity's sake here, That actually does happen today.
Right.
We are in the process and have established master service agreements where we are issuing purchase orders
Against
them.
those agreements.
Yes, absolutely. So that
Okay.
is happening today actively. There are situations where we are purchasing goods, where the requisition goes through our certified system, which if you're only purchasing goods and there's no contract, we issue a purchase order, which does have standard terms and conditions
becomes a
attached to it, that
contract.
it becomes a default. So yes, we're moving that way, right? And last I checked, I believe Christine, and quote me if I'm wrong, please let me know, was working with our team to kind of finalize those terms and conditions with Martin Sandoval, our administrative services officer, who's over the team. So we're working again in tandem to kind of finalize standardized templates or terms and conditions for our PO, for our contracts, and they are being used in the way that you're describing.
Correct.
Okay, but that's not what you've described here. This is like a standalone acquisition that isn't a purchase order against an existing contract. And it's another place where I think the terminology, we're using the same term to mean two different things. And that is only going to create confusion someplace down the line. And while it might make sense to the three of you, somebody that's on the fourth floor who's trying to figure out how they go about acquiring X or Y could very well not follow the proper process or get themselves lost. So I again, just encourage you to go through and figure out where the terms are used to mean something slightly different from what they mean on a different page. Okay. And then let me see what else I have. On master agreements, which is the next page. Okay, vendors are, yeah, and here we've got purchase orders against these master agreements, which is what we were just talking about, right? It says awards for work or POs are typically made to the lowest price vendor. Why would they not always be made to the lowest price vendor?
There are circumstances where the end user, if you want to call it that, would select a different vendor, maybe because the vendor has more experience in whatever services that we are acquiring. Sometimes it's because the warranties that one particular vendor is providing are more valuable than the immediate like cost savings that we're getting off of the price. So if that is the case, we do ask them to provide like a justification saying why we will not take the lowest bid. It is because these other criterias are more important and are better value to LACERA. But a perfect example would be we have some vendors that do wiring. They do the wiring for the board. Anytime there's a renovation, we tend to go with that same vendor, and that is because they're already familiar with the building. Their services have been proven time and time again. So we want to give the business owners or end users the flexibility to choose the vendor that they feel will provide the best value and
So
services to
it's like a
LACERA.
sole source kind of, I mean, what you just described in that, it is really the equivalent of a sole source. You want to go back to the people that did the work originally, so that because of their familiarity, et cetera. No, you're shaking your head.
No, necessarily, because remember, at this point, we have gotten multiple bids.
Well, and that's what's confusing me, okay? When you go out for bids, as opposed to proposals, you go out for penny loafers, okay? You have already specified the details of what you want. That would include, it seems to me, a warranty. If that's an important issue, I want a warranty of at least X number of years, whatever it might be. And then the list and then you evaluate those bids that come in, the list that's developed, the people you enter into these master agreements with, you've already confirmed they meet these minimum qualifications that you have established. At which point, then you go strictly by price, because you've already gone through, in order to make it that far in the process, they've already committed to all of the criteria that you've established are critical. So again, I'm just mystified here. You're throwing in issues that are after the fact selection, criteria for selection
Mhm.
in an IFB as opposed to an RFP. And yet an IFB by its nature should have all the specificity of all of the things that you consider to be critical.
Mhm.
So that's what threw me off here of how you get to typically made to the lowest vendor by the point in time when you have a master agreement. Nobody makes it to the master agreement if they haven't made your minimum criteria.
Mhm.
And with respect to your wiring, to me, that's what I would have called a sole source agreement. You want the same people to do it because you don't want to reinvent the wheel or have somebody come in and try to do a bunch of other stuff. And perfectly logical,
Mhm.
but I don't see how those fit into this category at all because of the specific circumstances that you've described. Let me see what else here. Contracts, type of purchasing transactions. Okay, and this is the same kind of thing. Type of purchasing transactions. We're distinguishing between a purchase order and a contract. And as I said before, to me, a purchase order is a document that is awarded under the authority of an existing contract. Here, they're broken into two separate categories, which if that's not how you're actually doing it, then breaking them out under D between 1 and 2, again, can create some confusion. Now I can't tell what this one's supposed to be. E, competitive bidding. Yeah, competitive bidding is the process of obtaining bids for the same goods or services from multiple vendors. That's your IFB process? Is that right? I mean, in the terminology, you go out and you're asking for the exact same thing, right?
Okay, so what I was trying to do is just describe the fact that LACERA, the default is to always go out there and get competitive bids, whether it would be just a simple informal or just simple specs, or if it's an RFP. So that's all that I was trying to do, is just describe the competitive bidding process as something that we do. And then I was going to go into the different types of solicitation. So the informal bid is one type of solicitation, and then the formal bid is the other type. So I was trying to first give a general description and then break it down into the types of solicitations.
Okay, and the first,
Figure out
the
how to get us
intro
under this.
paragraph again refers to most responsible bidder,
Mhm.
which makes sense if you're doing a request for proposals,
Okay.
because you're looking at quality, you're looking at what kind of, what they're going to come up with when they design the shoe for the, the boomer yuppie, that as opposed to the people that are going to sell you penny loafers. And you've got that down below where you're looking through, where you're doing an informal, what you're calling an informal bid is you just go out, you know exactly what you want, and
Mhm.
people are telling you how much they're going to charge you for that and how many days to deliver it and things, as opposed to formal bids where you're asking for somebody to tell you how they're going to give you whatever you're looking for,
Mhm.
right? What they have that's available to respond to your needs and how they're going to provide that to you. But I think we've got to be careful about where we say most responsible bidder, because in general, we should be going with the least cost, the cheapest, the lowest responsible bidder. So we evaluate responsibility and we put them in order, but price weighs into that. I mean, if you're going out for an RFP, price is a component, right?
Yes.
And so at the end, what you're doing is the lowest responsible bidder, because you're melding cost and the quality of the contractor's ability to fulfill your needs. And otherwise, we're sending a message to the public that we don't really care about cost. And that's or that cost isn't our primary factor. And spending public money, cost needs to be preeminent. We want to make sure that whoever we're contracting with is giving us what we need and fulfills our needs. But within that group, they also have to be the cheapest. And when we refer to most responsible or most whatever, as opposed to least expensive, then we telegraph a message that is inconsistent with what our real goal is. And what I see from the standpoint of a board member is what our obligations are. Let's see if I've got anything
Trustee
else.
Fessler, if I could exert
Yeah,
chair's
I'm sorry.
prerogative here.
I'm going too much detail. right?
Well, but it's good. I mean, you're asking some really good questions, and I think everyone's benefiting from it. However, in light of how long we've already spent on this, I'm not trying to shut off anybody else. I see there's two other hands up, but I'd like to suggest that maybe this would be better taken up in the Operations Oversight Committee, where you could have more time to really delve into this, let that committee get into the nitty gritty, down into the weeds, resolve all these things, and then they could present to the full board then their revised policy. Because it sounds like you're looking for a lot of revisions, and they may all be very valid. They may make it much more user-friendly for everybody within the organization. So if I could suggest that, but I don't, like I said, I don't want to cut off discussion.
I gotta throw out an objection. I think we should have this conversation. I think if the trustee wishes to ask for this item to be to the OOC, they can certainly ask for it, and it could be agendized for the OOC. I don't think just because we have questions on a policy, I think we move forward with the item that we have. And if there needs to be additional discussion or revisions, it could be agendized for a future meeting at the OOC. So I think we proceed with this item. There's a motion on the table. It's moved and seconded, and we're having a discussion about it. I think we allow Presley Fester to finish her comments, and then we continue on with additional trustees that have comments.
Well, I would just ask that, and thank you, Trustee Keough, for that. Can you give us an estimate how much more time you need?
Well, I mean, I don't have to go through each and everything here. I think I'm not ready to vote in favor of this today,
Okay.
obviously. And I'm happy to meet one-on-one with staff or to have it come back to the OOC, however anybody wishes to proceed. I'm not comfortable voting for it with the wording that it has. If the rest of the board is, I'll just vote no. So I mean, that's
fine too.
that is fine by me. I'm not, trying to hammer anybody in the
Okay.
head, but I think it needs considerable work before the board should approve it.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Keough, do you have more, or is that?
Yes, I do have comments.
Okay,
Yes, so,
go ahead, and then.
Maybe we should issue an RFP for legal services on a review of this. Okay, so I just want to highlight this policy has been in effect since 2005. It was last revised on September 4th of 24. I apologize and forgive me for everybody, because I'm the one that asked for it to be brought back for the 250,000 instead of the 100,000. And it was done for the sole purposes of talking about the IT elements and some of these things that were bogging down the RFP process. And because I have a deep level of trust in our staff here, our 450 LACERA employees, to make wise and smart decisions within the confines of the policy that we put forward. And talking about the 100,000 versus 250, clearly everything that's in the presentation lays out that there is a benefit and that there is very, very, very minuscule risk associated with that. So I'm in support of the motion as written. I'm not opposed to having a deep dive on the process. I'm not opposed to having the OOC. I do fully agree that the OOC would be the appropriate level. I do fully agree a one-on-one discussion with staff would be very helpful before that OOC meeting. I don't think that we stopped the process because of that. So I think both are in alignment. I think supporting what we have in front of us, knowing that sometimes you have to pinch your nose on the way things are written and then come back and deal with it later. That's what I'd recommend. I disagree strongly that we should solely base it on the lowest bid. There are so many technicalities and issues that staff from an executive level should have the ability to look at this and go, you know what, because of this reason, we're going to go with this. And there should be some guardrails. So maybe if we need to add some guardrails to say if it's more than a 10% discrepancy, then that's something that has to be rebid or things like that. And I don't know, that could be in there in the policy, but if not, so there are always areas for improvement on it. But I do think it's something that is a much deeper discussion and that we need to ultimately sit down and talk about. I think the sole purpose of this revision on the policy is granting staff the ability to do up to $250,000 on a non-formal process. And that's why I support the motion, and that's why I'm pushing that motion. If we want to go back to the drawing board on this policy and stuff, absolutely appropriate for the OOC to have those deeper discussions. I don't think we hold back staff on, I don't see a reason to hold back staff on the 100 versus 250. I think that's appropriate. Last comment that I'll say is that, and I do appreciate Bobby's question because this brought this out into light. If it's not a board level decision, so if it's less than 500,000, it should not be coming to this board. It's not in the policy. Obviously, the CEO could bring it if the CEO wants to, but there's a reason why we have a board limit of 500. So bringing it to us at 200, then let's go ahead and just change it to board approval at 200 or whatever the case is. I think we have a policy for a reason. Let's stick with the policy. We don't need to place that on our shoulders on it. And if it's a concern, it's not a concern about the money really. It's a concern about why wasn't the board informed of this? That's a different decision than the money. So if we're upset because we didn't know about an RFP that was $275,000, it's not the 275 that's the reason. It's because why didn't we know that you were going to, you know, change the color of the whole building, right? So that's more of those type of issues. So it's not the dollar. So if it's 500,000 and that's what we're within the policy, I would highly recommend we stick with that. Don't go outside the policy unless, of course, there's a reason to, and that's more of an FYI briefing us on those issues. So with that, I'll yield my time.
All right, thank you. Trustee Langton.
First, I want to say that I appreciate the centralization, the life cycle, absolutely mandatory. I also appreciate that I had the benefit of meeting with this contracts. I want to say division, but a few people from contracts with pretty much, maybe not, definitely not as articulate as Bobby, I'll just tell you that, but stating the same things, that we need to decouple bids and proposals. We need to get rid of the words business owner. I mean, those are the two big ones to me. And what I hear today is that Trustee Kehoe is saying we don't look only at the lowest bidder, but we do when it's a bid. We don't when it's a proposal. Right. Proposals have specifics to them. They're services. Bids are, you know, it's how many clocks are we getting? 8 clocks for $200, or are we getting 8 clocks for $250? If they're the same clocks, you're getting them at Home Depot or you're getting them on Amazon, it doesn't matter. Like you're not gonna, I hear the warranty argument. I hear it 100%. I guess you take that into account, but really lowest responsible bidder is just the business standard. It's like best practice. It's government work. That's just how it is. So I will say that we spent a little time talking. I've spoken to Steve about it. I spoke with contracts about it. I got nowhere. I will tell you that. It came back almost exactly exactly as it had been pre-written. So I'm going to give Bobby a shot and hopefully she can meet with them and get somewhere, because I think these are extremely important changes. The only thing I can suggest at this point is the same thing that Laura asked me to suggest last time, and it worked beautifully, is maybe we could just approve the $250, the Exhibit A today, You can have your $250, but I think we need to be clear, and maybe I'm misunderstanding here, and maybe you could clarify. It's only for purchases of bids, if you will. It's only purchases of things for the $250,000. No?
No.
No. So you want it for proposal, from my perspective, proposals and bids.
Correct. Again, because you're using the county framework, you're differentiating between bids and proposals.
Because there's a difference.
And I totally understand your perspective, because we have a member of our team who you met, who worked with ISD, was a purchasing manager at the health services. So understanding the county language clearly, right, is very different. Just to give some context, our goal was to have common language for LACERA staff. This is an administrative policy that will apply within the confines of LACERA. And when we went and looked outside of LACERA, everyone doesn't speak the same language.
Right.
And when you look inside of LACERA, everybody wasn't speaking the same language. This was an effort for us to speak the same language. And is everybody comfortable with the language yet? No, that's part of the I can't even say that word, so I'm not going to.
Operational, yeah.
Yes, of our life cycle, right? This is one of the things when we talk about training staff, getting business owners adoption. It's because we went from a decentralized to a centralized model. Prior to this decentralization to centralization, the business owners were called contract analysts. But now our contract analysts reside solely in vendor management. We had to call them something. They own the business within the unit that they're making a request to purchase for. So we call them business owners because to us, that makes sense. And I understand that because you're attorneys and language is extremely important. And I totally respect and understand every point that you made. And you have the benefit of knowing all of the county language and infrastructure there, that it makes no sense to you, right? Because you do distinguish things differently and you have a totally different vernacular. If the board would like us to implement the same language that the county uses, then that would be the board's.
I just want to clarify, because you're reacting to my feedback. I'm not looking for you to copy what the county has. What I was trying to point out is places where reading this as a like virgin eyes, I can see the same word used two different, or the same term used to mean two different things within the document, or a term that it's not, I mean, the county doesn't use business owner one way or the other, but everybody out on the street uses the term business owner to mean somebody that owns the mom and pop grocery store, et cetera. So I don't take my comments to mean I want you to copy the county. I just want it to be clear.
So again, I heard that and I wrote it down because since we're evolving this process, looking through the lens of the staff, historically, purchase orders for LACERA were not connected to contracts. They were not. They were only used for the purchase of goods, went through our certified system. Contracts were handled totally different. So
But you're coming up with a whole new system,
we're
right?
coming up with a whole new system. So our policy does need to evolve to incorporate those changes. So what I heard you, and it's accurate, right? I understand, and we will go back to ensure that there is alignment within our own document, because that's what I'm hearing, that there was an alignment, right? So definitely we'll do that. But we're going to continue to evolve the process, and the policy does need to catch up sometimes with when we're trying to align the verbiage.
And the policy can help you with the alignment of the process. I mean, they really aren't independent, they're interwoven.
Correct.
Yeah. I would, just to follow up, I would agree with what Aline is saying. There doesn't appear to be any objection from that I've heard of moving the $100,000 threshold to 250,000. But the way this is worded right now, that is coupled with an approval of the actual policy that's been presented. And I'm not ready to vote in favor. I am ready to vote
right now.
I'm sorry?
The policy is in effect. We're just approving the dollar.
No, we aren't. We're approving the policy. Look at the item on the board letter. It says approve the policy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not ready to
Adopt the
do that.
revised policy.
Yeah, and it says adopt the revised,
Right, so I'm suggesting we just
Do the dollar
change the
amount.
dollar amount for today
correct.
and then figure out how to
And
go
then,
forward.
after the policy is further reviewed, it can come back separately. It's so basically breaking the two apart.
That's what we did last time. And quite frankly, what we haven't approved today without the changes is already in effect because the old policy hasn't gotten canceled yet. So we have the old policy with new numbers today,
Right.
hopefully. And I'd make a motion to do that.
I second
Well,
that.
hang on, we already have a motion and a second on the floor.
Okay.
So if you wish to make an amendment,
An
You can do
amendment
so.
is fine. And
I'm
Well,
just for
actually-
good of the order. It's the same thing. The only thing being, okay, are we revising anything in the policy beyond the 250,000 to 100,000? Is there
Not
any
today.
other verbiage changes?
Maybe we just added some definitions per the board's like instructions the last time or suggestions, and we did some clarification, but nothing substantive.
this is why I really believe this isn't ready for prime time. There's a lot more work that needs to go in here. There's a lot of questions in everybody's mind. I don't think this is the forum now to sit here and try and hash this out.
That-
These are all wonderful comments, and I think some really good ideas have come up here. You've highlighted some areas that really need to be given some thought.
I'll do a
And I-
substitute motion to raise the dollar amount from 100,000 to 250,000 and to return the remaining policy to the Operations Oversight Committee for further discussion.
I'll second that.
And before we vote on it, I'll just say, I feel like this board is getting way too deep into
Mhm.
these weeds of staff. I'm respectful of all the board members. Certainly we can have those discussions. But I really think that we need to separate our day job and past day jobs from them. So if they're comfortable with the language, that's what we need to ask. Are you comfortable with the language? And if the answer is no, then they need to bring it into alignment and make corrections. It's not our comfort with it, it's that, unless there are things that we have way more concerns about, which are guardrails and dollar amounts. Those are policy discussions. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, and now I'm trying to maintain some semblance of order here, so please bear with me. Aline, are you done with your comments? Please do.
okay, just to respond to trustee Kehoe, I totally appreciate we're getting in the weeds. If the policy didn't come to us for approval, we wouldn't get into the weeds, but it becomes our policy when we have to approve it. So we have to be comfortable with it. So I'll
Exactly.
just want to add that.
All right, thank you. Trustee Penteo.
I want to echo what Trustee was said earlier about the difference between the lowest responsible and you know, from the contracting side, that doesn't always work out well. Sometimes it does, and you're lucky if it does, but sometimes you get guys that know how to finagle the system, come in as the lowest bidder, and then figure out a way to change order and do all kinds of things, and that doesn't end up becoming the cheapest for the entity. And this is something we've seen time and time again, especially within governmental agencies. So I just want to make sure that we caution the use of always just saying the lowest responsible bidder is the best language, because I do not agree with that.
But,
And I
but
think
that's where responsible comes in. You're not,
But
it's
this
not
is
just
not a
lowest,
debate,
cheapest,
that-
it's
yeah,
lowest
yeah,
responsible.
correct, but trust me, we deal with it all the time, the city of Los Angeles, county of LA, on contracting sides, and I've warned elected officials about that. They've had to eat crow after, but it is what it is. It doesn't always work out that way. That's why I don't disagree with Trustee Kehoe. I think you always want to be careful with that. In the ideal world, responsible, yes. We don't live in the ideal world, and we don't live with ideal responsible bidders or contractors, whether it's IT or any of that. It just, that's not the world we live in. So we always have to, and I agree, I trust staff because this is what they've been doing day in and day out for years. They've worked with all kinds of vendors. They know who the good vendors are, and that's where the lowest responsible would come in. But when they have to go into something new, you want to be able to give them that leeway to say, well, this guy looks a little, compared to this guy, there's got to be something wrong. You want to give them that leeway, and you want to trust in the staff. So I agree with Trustee Kehoe on that.
And thank you, Trustee Pantoja. I appreciate that very much. Trustee Green.
Thank you. I also have a lot of faith in staff and their ability to process and the risk management for things all LACERA that we have to do. A couple key items, we just got a report about CPI being up. Goods are more expensive now, so the dollar amount is prudent. I mean, it's sensible. My take on this everything's it's the same. This is just we're transitioning from analog processes to more electronic. That was the whole thing. I mean, we're IT and the relationship and offsite our data, that those kind of things. We're transitioning. We're updating our software. So, well, no pun intended. And so, my take on this is just, without getting into semantic blockage, is that, LACERA staff is trying to have a proprietary language to facilitate the same process we've always had. It's the same process. We're just talking about a dollar increase and just some proprietary language changes to adopt these new systems and stuff like that and streamline it. And, we hear about, short-staffed, and it's like I've said before, we've got less people doing more with so little, blah blah blah. I said it before. So if they're cooking up some kind of thing that's within our policy, and it's going to help them be better informed, streamline the process, I say we should support it. And the CEO has the opportunity to make the big purchases. I do agree that, if it's something significant, we should be informed. I mean, just a presentation or even information only, just to keep us abreast on something. And then, if we need to do a deep dive into it. But I'm completely confident in staff, and I think that this is, they're addressing something. They're in real time. They're being agile with our changes of our systems and everything else. So I would support the motion, the first one as written. I think it's good to go. So
Thank you, Mr. Green. Mr. Moore.
Well, I just want to tell the staff that I appreciate all the work that you've been doing on this, because it's been a long time coming. And when you have this decentralized system where everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and it's been ingrained in the system for decades, and you're trying to switch to something that's more efficient, effective, that gets better outcomes, it's hard. And so you're not going to be able to write the policy tomorrow and it's going to be perfect. So there are always going to be problems that you're going to have to work through that you won't even recognize until you implement it. So don't think that there's a policy that you're going to be able to implement that's going to be perfect. There's always going to be changes to be made. And so keep going, keep doing what you're doing. And I don't know if it would be too late for this, but sometimes hiring a consultant to work with you who's helped organizations do this kind of transition in our public policy environment can give you some methodology, some practices, some insights in how to bring people together, ways that you can make your process effective and efficient and easily implementable, and also how to communicate what you're doing to your board members who are in oversight positions that are bringing 9 different perspectives to you that is confusing in itself, but there's always some little nuggets of wisdom in there somewhere that you can use. So I encourage you to keep going and get this thing right as soon as you can, so you can get back to work.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Thank you to everyone. And I appreciate Mr. Moore's wisdom and comments to staff. We know this is very difficult. And you're right. We've got all these different perspectives and they're all valid. And I appreciate Bobby bringing it up. I mean, this was a good discussion. And we'll have more good discussion in the UC. I hope we'll see how that goes. But if you could restate, now we're on the amended motion.
I did a substitute motion.
I'm sorry, I mean.
I just made it easy. I made a substitute motion, and the substitute motion was
Okay,
to
so we can go on
approve
the
the
substitute motion.
$100,000 to $250,000 and return the remainder of the policy to the OOC for further discussion.
Okay. And we're ready to vote on the substitute motion. And everyone's clear on what it is.
Ms. Ginsburg.
Yes.
Mr. Raza.
Aye.
Ms. Langton.
Aye.
Ms. Fessler.
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe.
Aye.
Mr. Moore.
Aye.
Mr. Rue.
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja. And Mr. Robbins. Okay, passes unanimously.
Thank you, everyone, for your time and input.
Thank
It is
you.
greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much. That brings us back to 11 reports. These are all for information only. Unless anyone has any questions on any of these reports, we can go through those, which means we're now down to items for staff review. None. Items for future agendas. None. Good of the order.
Can I start?
It's time for good of the order, yes.
Ms. Ginsburg. Mr. Raza. Ms. Langton.
Yes, just want to welcome our new CEO. Love the new haircut for the CEO position. And looking forward to working together. It's going to be great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fessler.
I second what Ms. Langton just said. I'm really happy that we've accomplished bringing you on board officially. You can take that acting away from your
No more acting.
signature block. And I also want to respond to the procurement staff. I hope I didn't come across as being critical. I know as well as anybody in this room how hard it is to do what you're trying to do. And my comments were intended to help inform that process, not to attack it. You guys do work hard, and since I've been on the board, I've never had any issues with the solicitations or the contracts or anything that has come to my attention out of that unit. So it's not intended to be critical. It's only intended to try to forestall any little bugaboos that might be hiding in the cracks and the weeds. But you guys did a great job, and I appreciate your responsiveness and the fact that nobody threw a shoe or anything at me, maybe even a penny loafer or a saddle shoe.
Or saddle
So,
shoe. Or saddle
yeah,
shoe.
yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. And if I'm happy to work with you if you're interested in that. And Louis, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kehoe.
Yes, Louis, make sure you get your CEO photo now.
Yeah.
Because in a few years, you're gonna have solid gray hair. That's all.
We'll do the before and after.
Mr. Moore.
Just welcome, Louis, and you have a long runway left, a lot of runway. So we're expecting a lot of stability and progress at LACERA under your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rue.
Yeah, yes, congratulations and welcome. It's great about the continuity because you're going to be able to finish all of the initiatives that our previous CEO Santos Carmen started. But you're probably, as is number one, you're the one that probably started it anyways, so you could see it through. And I think that's a testament to the previous Board of Trustees long-term planning of when our previous CEO was hired, instructing him to make sure that there's a transition plan, which worked out flawlessly. And it's good to hear from our old-time trustees that this is the smoothest. I mean, this is the only transition that I know. So this is what I'm going to expect going forward. But welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Mr. Pantoja?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo my fellow trustees. Welcome, Louis. I know it's something you were already doing, but I know it's something you worked hard for, and I know it's well deserved. And I'm glad that the board chose, in their wisdom, to have you continue on what you guys were already building. And I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Mr. Robbins?
Just very quickly, I know he's not here, but I wanted to shout out to Santos Kryman for finding you and bringing you into our family. And number two, we're lucky to have you.
Mr. Green?
I'm sorry I missed it. I was enjoying the front country on the 210 from pretty much Calgrove all the way to Lake. So, but I was channeling positive energy, and I'm happy to hear it. It's really, you've done so much already, and I know you're going to continue it. And yeah, so I'm glad you're here, and you do look sharp.
Just a couple of brief comments. Again, thank you. I always say a leader is only as good as their team. So really looking forward to hitting the ground running as we are with the team. You have my muscle twitching already on the item. I was, when do I get up? When do I get up? But I think, in all seriousness, I think that's the sign of a good, healthy board, is having discussion where there's strong disagreements, but ultimately coming to a consensus and providing us direction. So I appreciate it. It's always a learning opportunity on our end as well. So thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Harris?
Thank you. And I agree with everything you just said and what all the trustees said. Welcome, glad you're here. And you're right, robust discussion is really good. It reminds me of a board I used to sit on with somebody else here in this horseshoe, where we used to have robust discussions. And it was amazing. I mean, they were really robust, but at the end of the day, we almost always voted unanimously. So we, despite all the differences of opinions, we got it out, we came together, and I see that's with this board also. This is what's so good about this board. It makes such a pleasure to serve on this board. So we are glad you're here. I may be the only one on this horseshoe who knows where Superior is. And I know you're glad to be here because it's cold up there. But we are very, very, very blessed and happy to have you here. And as Mr. Moore said, we look forward to a long tenure. And it should be very productive. And with that, I think we're ready to move into disability retirement cases to be held in closed session.